I should have a glass and a Ouija board here. Spin at the glass. Anybody there?
I'll get you. I don't know why, but last time I was on the the comments only come up on Restream to YouTube. I don't know what that's
doing. You did say that. Obviously, I can't see what's happening at your end, you know. So,
right, that's YouTube just put out that we're live. We've got 7 viewers already, and it would appear that the chat is working today. Good afternoon, Stephen. Good afternoon, Suzanne. Good afternoon, Alexander. Elizabeth.
I have
Nancy.
That one.
That the chat is working today. Good afternoon.
Sorry, dude. I was just firing up Facebook there.
I get that. Hi, Quentin. Hi, Robert. Will we do RC? Hi. I think you're new to us. Hi, Baby Bump. Back again. Hi, Pat. Evelyn. Elizabeth. Elizabeth. You saw Gran Canaria. Different Elizabeth. That's Elizabeth on Facebook. Hey, Jordy. Ace Ninja. Fiona. Stillers. Aye, numbers are climbing nicely, David. So I know we're just winging it today, but as we wing it, I'll still be taking a wee note of the topics as we go along, because I don't want to keep you out all crowd. You know, you start to bore people. You know, it's dry, cloudless, and apparently frosty and Stromness. Hi, Stromness.
I was going to say let's start with Mr. Zahawi.
Mr. Nadim
Zahawi, right? AKA Public Enemy number 1.
Right.
I don't know if any of you remember a broadcast that we did way back before Christmas, and it was all based around Nadim Zahawi and how he was an owner of YouGov, but what he did was he set up a trust in Malta.
That was Jabor. Was it not Jabor?
Family that he put the YouGov into, and you know, you might say, look, I'm not taking anything out of that trust, right? But he's still got YouGov. It's a family trust. Anything that's combined with that trust, he owns, or he part owns. And, you know, he will benefit from that trust at some time in the future. What do you say, David?
The same man's a crook. He's just had to pay £1 million to HMRC for a tax avoidance. It should have been 3 million, but I believe that HMRC settled for 1.3 million.
Yeah.
But the man should be in jail.
I'll remember that when I pay my corporation tax. How's about that? I've got, I'll pay a third of that.
According to Wayne, there's a new poll showing that the increased support for independence was just a blip, apparently.
Right.
Apparently we just don't want independence no matter how or don't fancy independence no matter how grim things are getting with Westminster. I haven't seen the latest poll, Wayne.
Neither have I.
I haven't seen the questions, how they were framed, and I haven't seen the methodology and how they managed to work their sums out. So I can't really say whether it was a blip or not.
I do know that Pamela Nash is busy out pumping on the polls, and she's trying to prove beyond a shadow of doubt that nobody in Scotland in their right mind wants a referendum or an election, a plebiscite election, or They don't want independence, don't want anything to do with it. But that's what
He's asking me if I'm doing any more hospitals. I don't actually have to physically leave right now. I've got people all around the country giving me reports on the local hospitals. And the picture is different depending on the size of the hospital, the size of the community, the size of the area it serves, time of day, believe it or not, time of week, days of week. So what I can say for the picture that I'm managing to put together at the moment, I've even got paramedics and I've got nurses and that talking to me. And what I can say is that things are they are under a lot of pressure, they are under a lot of strain, but it would appear the press are exaggerating it. The pictures are different right around Scotland. For example, Crosshouse Hospital in Ayrshire is no faring well. The Queen Elizabeth University Hospital is under extreme pressure, whereas the Glasgow Royal Infirmary and the Western General seem to be coping all right. Right? Here in North Lanarkshire, the picture is that the Monklands and Wishaw seem to be faring a wee bit better than Hermeyers at the moment. Ninewells doesn't seem to be running with any problems, and that's a massive hospital covering a massive area. They're telling me that the scene is changeable at Aberdeen Royal Infirmary, and apparently Regmore's handling things all right. With Dr. Grays and Elgin, it's a bit sketchy. But what we can say is that in the major settlements, things are a wee bit worse than what they are in more remote areas. And what we can say is the ambulance problem isn't really there here in Scotland. Average response times at the moment are back to what they should be.
Well, I personally think it's a wonderful initiative that you've put out there, David, of getting people to go and have a look actually in the A&E areas to see if there's a big queues of ambulances, because until you do that, until you've got normal ordinary folk like you and me actually going to the hospitals and saying, right, what's going on here, what we're left with is we're left with the mainstream media. And at the moment the mainstream media are screaming about, can the NHS survive? That was the headline for a new programme that's going to be out. I think is it tonight or tomorrow night? I think it's tonight actually. Can the NHS survive? What I think.
To answer Nathan's question, yeah, I probably will be going to run a couple more hospitals. I'll be trying to do it on my days after, especially in the evenings, and I'll be going to look at some of the hospitals where they're reporting the biggest problems.
I think it's a watching brief. I actually think it's not sufficient just to do it once or twice. No. I think you've got to do it regular. Yeah.
I can only do it for days after, David. You know, I work in the and the evenings are the busy time for hospitals.
It really just means more people are going to have to do it and report in. Yeah. I mean, I hope the majority of these people know how to get a hold of you and me. All right. Facebook
I've got reams of private messages coming in from everywhere. People ordering along and having a wee look for themselves. Different times of the day, different parts of the country. I mean, on my timeline, Neil McDonald posted a video of the Borders General when he was in the other day with Horner. They were in the morning. There was no ambulances queuing. There was some vehicles there, but they were empty. And there was only 6 or 8 people in the waiting room, and the waiting room is shared between a couple of different departments, so they could have been going to different departments. What I found here in North Lanarkshire is GP referrals are being seen quicker than anything else, because they were going to specialist doctors when they hit the A&E reception or the hospital reception. They're being sent out quicker. But it's interesting that the mainstream media, they seem to be playing with a narrative for this government, and I don't mean the Scottish government, I mean the Westminster government, on can the NHS survive? Of course it can, only takes political will.
Just can we respond to Wayne there? He says, makes you wonder why the SNP say the NHS was on its knees if things are better than that. Now, to be honest with you, Wayne, it's like they didn't say that the NHS is on its knees.
And they wouldn't have
Yeah, what they had was the cuckoos in the nest, blooming berating them about this, that, and the other, right? And because they didn't have the actual physical data right in front of them, they had to just say, well, you know, we're suffering from the reaction, the aftermath of the pandemic and all that sort of thing, and the recent flu and all the rest of it, right? And there are high numbers of people that are in hospital with the flu and with COVID.
Well,
Get that, you know?
People earlier, the death stats for flu last week were higher than the COVID stats.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
This flu that's hit the UK and Ireland, because we're talking to Michael in Ireland this afternoon, is running an absolute savvy.
Yeah.
It really is.
But here's the thing: it's like we're being told that the NHS cannot cope. At this moment in time, it seems to be coping all right. Yeah. What I would like to hear, if there are any people from England that are joining us today, is if you could visit your local hospital and have a look to see how much truth there is in what you're being told by the mainstream media about your area. That would be rather interesting, because what we're being told is that you've got queues of ambulances blocking the roads. I think it seems sensible for people to question that. Yeah. Because we are being wound up to the point of where our NHS is falling apart, and I actually figure that what the Tories are going to do is they're going to come in and go, right, all right, okay, we've had enough of this. We've got a great idea, right? And that's where they introduce insurance-based health services. They denationalise the National Health Service. That's it.
Well, that's where we're going. It's up to people to protect the NHS. But what we can say is that the picture is they are under strain. There's no doubt about it. There is a problem with social care because all the Eastern Europeans that were working and making up the shortfall of labour in the social care sector have left, and that's leading to bed blocking, which is a bigger problem than anything else. I see somebody saying they called their GP this morning, had an appointment, a phone call, 30th of January, got an appointment for your mother 1st of February. None of it is urgent, so no really a problem. Wife phoned the doctor this morning, the receptionist this morning at 9 o'clock, got a phone. 8 o'clock, sorry, because the surgery opens early and stays open on a Saturday again now to try and alleviate some of the pressures in the hospitals. Anyway, 9:30, doctor called her back. Appointment at 10:30. I picked her up at 12, prescription in and collected. There you go. That was my surgery this morning. Right. That's as good as it always is with your surgery. I mean, even through the pandemic, as I said, they were still seeing people. They did ask you to test first and mask up, but they were seeing you physically. But anyway, let's talk about some of the other things because we're winging it. So, well, we just covered Nadine Zahawi and exaggerations and the differences in how different different hospitals are coping throughout Scotland. Okay, so with Zahawi,
I think it would be fair to call it an exaggeration. Yeah, would you agree?
Yeah. There's no doubt that the NHS is under stress, but
yeah, but it's very, very easy in a situation like that. It's very easy for a broadcaster in that situation to then exaggerate what's going on to make good headlines.
Yeah, as I say, but we're getting a good picture, folks, of what's happening around the country. I want to talk about some of the other big things that's happened this week. Let's start on Monday and the politically motivated move by Alistair Jack to strike down the GRR. What did you make it?
Well, first off, you've got to ask yourself, why? What's the big why? Why go to that extent? It's purely and simply they want to pick a fight with Holyrood. They want to have a discussion between Holyrood and Westminster, because that allows them, if it gets bad enough, it allows them to carry on and do all sorts of things. You do realise that if they use Section 35 instead of taking things through the court, they could literally cancel every bit of legislation that Holyrood have brought forward for the last 20 years.
But what was interesting about that, David, was they've taken the Scottish Government to court a number of times recently, and that's emboldened them to skip Section 33 or a 104 order and go straight to Section 35 and say, bugger it, doesn't suit us, we're going to make something up to fucking stop you from doing it. You know, and it's just so happened it happens to be trans people at the moment, but it could have been absolutely anything. This is definitely do you know what the big other significant thing that happened in Scotland this week, which went below the radar? No. The level has been allocated in Westminster, has started to contravene the devolution settlement by funding directly into Scotland. Now, as we know, in the Scotland Act and under the devolution settlement, any monies coming to Scotland that will be spent in devolved areas like infrastructure is supposed to go directly to the Scottish Government for MSPs to decide where that money is to be spent. So the devolution settlement has officially been ripped up.
Now, if that money is going into local authorities, I would say, like practically everybody else who's got a car, fix the roads. And then that money that's sent from Westminster will have to be upped, because there's too many roads to fix at the moment. You drive down to England, and at the moment, the roads down there aren't any problem. They've got a good road system. We've got a dreadful road system.
I'm afraid you're wrong there. The trunk roads are in great condition.
Yeah.
You're talking about the roads in the council areas. Well, that's due to the fact that the council is going to be underfunded.
Yes, I am.
But as you say, if Westminster are going to invest directly into Scotland, then surely they should ask the councils that are funding directly what their priorities are. Because staying up a theatre in Kilmarnock or an aquarium in Macduff, you know, these are baubles, these are insults to the Scottish people's intelligence.
Of course they are.
And 177 million. We were getting about 1.7 billion a year off the EU.
Yeah.
You know, or whatever it was we were getting off the EU, but definitely 3 or 4 times that.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing we get to expect from the direct funding is signs on the doors of all of these things with big Union Jacks over it saying funded by the Westminster government. And that brings me to something that was said in Prime Minister's questions and in Welsh questions this week. And that was, why should we invest English money in Wales? And I thought, wow, now the mask has slipped. It's no UK money. We don't all pay tax. It's English money being invested in Wales.
Yes.
So I wonder how the Welsh taxpayers feel about that.
Yeah, it's this thing about, you know, the people in England don't think that anybody else pays tax. They think that only they pay tax.
But to hear a parliamentarian in what's supposed to be the UK Parliament say English money.
I know.
The mask slips. Imperialism is back. The colonies are Northern Ireland, Scotland and Wales, apparently.
Yeah. Yes. Well, we got that, didn't we?
We did get that. We
No.
did. There's been a few other big things that have happened this week which are contrary to what the Scottish Welsh government are willing to give legislative consent to, but they will be ignored anyway. And that would be the minimum service bill and the EU retained law bill. Both an absolutely atrocious, both atrocious pieces of legislation which stamp all over our basic rights. One will do away with a lot of our basic rights, and the other one basically denies public servants in 4 or 5 sectors the right to take meaningful industrial action. So it's been
one thing I have noticed over the sort of past 7 days or so is I've seen more of the political, the political chat shows that you see, BBC Two, whatever, right, where they are discussing the new laws that are being brought forward by the Tories, and they're shocked by what the resultant effect is on people. There was a discussion the other day there about people that would sit themselves down on the M25 to block the motorists, right? And there was a good debate about that going to and fro, who's right, who's wrong, yeah. And I was glad to see that the people that were against the legislation that would effectively put people in prison for protesting was good to see. It was good to see it being aired in that way.
Aye. As I say, when we look at what's going on down there in England and Wales, because remember, whatever laws Westminster pass apply in Wales as well, whereas it's a wee bit different here in Scotland. Some of them actually don't. Ice Ninja, if the last poll you've seen said 57% yes or no, stick a link in the comment, mate, if you've got one. Now let's get to somebody here saying Alan Smith was good on talking about the EU retained law bill. What Alan Smith was saying in the debate was, if you're going to do this very silly thing, at least don't do it in this very silly way. And it's all about the fact that they're going to try and get rid of 4,000 odd pieces of legislation by the turn of 2023.
Yeah.
The worst of it is that it would appear ministers will decide what's gouged out and no MPs, which flies in the face of the parliamentary democracy as a system. It's a power grab as well as a deregulation and doing away with all the rights. But let's have a look at some of the bills that they've introduced to clamp down on people's civil liberties down that road, shall we? We've got the Covert Human Sources Bill. We've got the Borders and Immigration Bill. We've got the Police Crimes Court and Sentencing Bill. We now have the Public Order Bill going through the books as well. Minimum Service Bill. And now we've got the EU Reform Bill going, EU Retained Law Bill going through. And the outcomes at the end of the passing of each of these bills is pretty scary, really scary.
Yeah, they're setting up a rat trap for the population of the UK. That's what they're doing, and it's going to be whereby people cannot move, people cannot protest, people cannot speak out against a fascist government, and that's it. And you're going to be left no choice but to get your blooming pitchforks and blooming head for London. Simple as that. That's it.
Stevie Charlton put up a list of polls from 10, 12, 19 to 17, 12, 20. 23 polls, yes, have been noted in 18. No have been noted in 3, and they've been tied for 2. From 11, 12, 2020 to 29, 11, 2021, 54 polls, yes, 18, no, 31, tied 5. From 15, 12, 2021 to 16, 12, 2022, 28 polls, yes, 9, no, 16, tied 3. There you go.
And your tied ones that they've got, or the no ones, are the ones that were have been generated most likely from Scotland and Union.
It falls until you see the methodology and things like that. You know yourself, David, if you and I commission a poll, depending on the question, depends on the outcome we get, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it used to be It used to be that if you set your target as being 1ABs, right, you were guaranteed a no, because these are your people that are like the higher end of the marketplace with jobs.
I tend to look more at the trends in the social attitude studies.
Right.
The British social attitude study and the Scottish social attitude study. We get them once a year, and you can see the trend from devolution going forward towards more and more people wanting more and more power centred in Edinburgh. The last social attitude study here in Scotland and UK wide said 61% of the people in Scotland would like all decisions made in Edinburgh.
Mm-hmm.
The question wasn't, do you want to leave the Union? The question was, where would you like the decisions to be made? 61% would like all decisions today with Scotland made in Edinburgh. And to me, these are much more accurate studies than any snap poll asked by any polling company.
But of course, you know, the only way that Scotland and Holyrood gets to make the decisions is through independence. And anybody that figures that somehow Westminster are going to give away the power for Scotland and the people that live in it to actually make the decisions for Scotland, you're in cloud cuckoo land. You just don't have an idea. Simple as that.
Director, could you pop the studio lights on, please? Thank you.
Alexa, desk lamp on.
No, you're right. You're fine, David. You're next to the light. It's just, although people could still see me clearly, it was getting dark here.
Yeah.
You know? So I tend to look more at the long-term trends that show in the social attitude studies. I do like the polls until you start digging into their methodology, and some of them are quite balmy actually. And me not being a mathematician, my brain doesn't do that sort of mental sort of somersaults that they do to get the conclusions they get to, you know.
Yeah.
So I say the long-term social attitude studies tend to show different trends for the polls. They tend to show long-term trends, and people can look these things up themselves. It's you know how to use a search engine. Just put in the Scottish social attitude study, go through the questions and the results and things like that. They make interesting reading, by the way, folks. So they do. So as I say, we're talking about some of the absolutely atrocious bills that have been introduced in that road and how they're clamping down civil liberties. But this one, this EU retained law bill, this one scares me more than the others. The Public Order Act, well, you know, it's never going to be able to. That won't function. It just won't. The Police Crimes Court and Sentencing Act, which banned noisy protest, hasn't worked. What makes them think that banning public protest is not going to get people who dare to protest? Of course.
Define noisy. Simple as that. Define noisy.
Mary,
I could lawyer would be able to run a coaching horses straight through that, right? Because you know when you put just 1,000 people in a city square, city block, right, and they're stood there just chatting, they're bloody noisy.
But this one scares me because we're talking about the working time directive. We're talking about things like maternity, paternity, death leave, all these things that are written into the social contract because of the EU as well, EU retained EU law.
Well, the working time directive, you know, forgive me for my ignorance, because don't forget I've been self-employed most of my working life, right? But a lot of my engineer friends that work for other companies, they would sometimes be presented with a piece of paper.
Aye, the opt-out clause to allow people up to 60 hours a week.
That's right. Yes, and it was made quite clear to them that if they didn't sign it, they better start looking elsewhere.
That's right. But what's interesting about the Working Time Directive and most of the employment laws that are embedded within employment rights through European laws which were adopted right across the continent. They were all based in the 1976 UK Factories Act.
That's right. Yeah. I remember reading that on a wall. Shops, Offices and Factories Act 71?
The first one was 72 and then there was 76. And there's been various updates to the Act ever since. And there's been a few new ones. I think there was one in 86, one in 93, one in 96. No, 97 was the big one. It was sort of like where it was adopted EU-wide, this sort of stuff, you know.
Yeah.
So I take it Wayne's still on about people no wanting independence. We always get land, you know. You're welcome, Wayne. The audience will argue with you because, let's face it, you're just there to troll the audience. If you believe that none of us can be bothered and that there's no support for the SNP, go along to your local no group and say, it's time to take this lot on and put them behind, shut them up for good.
Hey, right. You know something? You know, it'd be interesting. Where is Wayne from?
I have no idea.
Well, ask him. Wayne, where are you from?
Wayne, stick it in the comments where you live, mate. But it doesn't matter where he lives. You know, if he actually believes that the people of Scotland don't want, then him and his side of the argument shouldn't be scared of democracy.
But also what would be interesting is Wayne, if you don't support the SNP, who do you support?
Okay, be a Tory or something, don't daft.
I'd not ask the question. If he's not prepared to put that down, he's obviously got a reason for not saying. He's maybe too embarrassed.
No, but as I say, if he believes that the people of Scotland don't want this, then he should be going along to his local cuckoos in the nest and saying, hey, this is the right time to have that referendum and take them on.
That's right. Yep. Let's get it done. We could put the whole thing to bed for 100 years. Just think of that, Wayne.
And according to Wayne, the support for independence is still at 45%. So there you go. But let's not waste too much time on it because if they actually believe that, they wouldn't be trying to deny the people of Scotland a democratic say. And that says everything, Wayne. If you don't understand the fact that people are being denied the basic democratic right of asking themselves a question, then you support that the people should not be allowed to ask a question of themselves, then you're a fucking idiot, never mind anything else. And I'm no one for insulting people in an audience. I believe that everybody here is a Democrat except for you, it would appear. I'm a Democrat to my toes. So therefore, if the people of Scotland have voted to ask themselves a question, then nobody on their right mind should be standing in the way of that democratic decision. It's the same with the Gender Recognition Reform Bill. Whether we agree with it or not, it is democratically decided by the majority of our parliamentarians that it was the right thing to do. It was also voted to be done. It was voted for to be done in the last SNP manifesto. But we don't expect Wayne to understand how democracy works because he seems to think that no being allowed to ask a question is the right thing to do.
Anyway, is Wayne a bus driver?
Oh, probably. There's two things wrong with bus drivers. One is they're stuck in the past, and the second one is they don't know how to reverse. Bus drivers tend only to go forward and spin round in circles at terminus. You know, they don't know how to back up. You know, and it's the same when they make silly statements. They don't know how to back up. It's quite clear that he's no a Democrat, and it's quite clear we don't live in a democratic union. And the people of England are slowly losing their civil liberties, and they don't bloody understand it.
I sincerely
voted SNP and Tory before. I'm sure you have, Wayne. I'm sure you have. And I'll take it that you've never read a manifesto in your life either. Otherwise, you would understand why the people of Scotland are angry. But we'll move on for that, Wayne, because when you're making an argument which you think is reasonable, that people shouldn't be allowed the democratic right to ask a question when they vote for something, then obviously there's something not right for you.
Yep.
You're quite happy to live in something that isn't a democracy, or you're quite happy to live in a, I don't know, second-class democracy, a colony, whatever. But anyway, so Alan Smith's a speech on the EU retained law bill was absolutely right. It's the time frame they're trying to do it, and it's the fact that the MSPs have been cut out. They're doing a damn silly thing, the damn silly way, and the outcome of it will be is where consumer rights will be scrapped, where workers' rights will be scrapped. Consumer protections will go out the window as well. Environmental standards will go out the window. We already see that in England anyway. They daft buggers are pumping human effluents into their water courses, nut jobs. How to kill yourself in one easy step. Fill the water with poo. Mental. So,
in terms of health and safety work, David, right? I mean, I oftentimes I do work for big companies, right? I used to do 3M, and they were really hot on health and safety and all the rest of it, right? Does there come a point where these companies change their policy and go, do what you want, as long as the job gets done and we get it at a good price? Is that possible, or do you feel that, do you feel that the managers within those big companies are going to go, no, we don't want lads blooming killed on their job, right? I don't know. I'm trying to see it practically. If they did do away with that, with all the health and safety stuff, if the companies that have been out there doing a good job in terms of health and safety, if they would change their policy, it's possible they might change it at the boardroom level, but maybe perhaps not at the managerial level. They would have to get rid of a lot of managers to do away with that, wouldn't they?
But when you're living in an economy in decline, it's very difficult when you get a directive coming from above to say, feck it, I'm not doing this. No, it'll be dangerous. It's more likely people will go, I'll keep an eye on the men and I'll tell them to be careful.
Yeah, all right.
And apparently we didn't respect the last referendum outcome. How did we know? We had the Smith Commission. We didn't get everything that was promised.
Oh, we're not responding to Wayne Morris again. David, stop it, man.
Apparently, as well as no respect in democracy, Wayne doesn't think we should ever be allowed to ask ourselves a question again. We'll just clear that up at that. Now, did you see First Ministers yesterday?
Yes, I did. To be honest with you, it was just... Can I say it was more of the same old, where you get the cuckoos in the nest saying, you're doing all this wrong, and you should, and such should resign, and all the rest of it. When are we going to see an end to that? Well, it's going to have to be independence. That's when we'll see an end to it.
Well, I thought it was the way that Nicola just sort of started treating them with contempt.
Yeah.
I mean, when Dross stood up and he was going on about the councils having to make cuts because they're not being funded properly. Well, actually, in Glasgow's case, they're having to make cuts because the Labour Party wouldn't pay equal pay years ago, and they're £5 billion out of pocket, settling the situation.
Yeah.
So that's why there's cuts in Glasgow. You can thank the Labour Party for that one.
Yeah.
As for cuts elsewhere, well, we know the Scottish budget's been cut 5% in real terms. We know that inflation means that the increased monies that are going to councils is worth less.
Yeah.
And of course, with the public sector wanting inflation busting pay rises, which takes more out of the budget again. So when she was talking to Daphne, it was a case of Scottish Government don't make these decisions, these are local authority decisions. And when it came to Sarwar and his 40 pence pay rise push for those in the social care sector, those in the social care sector in Scotland now get a guaranteed living wage, the Scottish living wage, a wee bit lower than the London living wage, but the Scottish living wage. And to have Anna Sarwar bring that up in the Parliament when he won't pay his own employees a living wage is an affront to decency.
I'm trying to keep a straight face. Anna Sarwar should not. You'd think he would be embarrassed. You'd seriously think he'd be embarrassed to bring such a thing up, knowing that we all know that his nickname is Poverty Pave Sarwar, right?
Oh no, I keep about myself.
You know, the Labour, my goodness me, this time, I've got to say to anybody in Scotland that supports Labour, for goodness sake, guys, you've got to realise Labour are not the alternative to the Tories.
You know,
if you look the other way about the Lib Dems are not the alternative to the Tories or Labour, right? It's like you're talking about. Sorry, David, carry on.
Phil McCracken says his Coons was talking about cutting services again. He's on the neighbours to hide his recycling and no, I mean there are real reasons for these for cut. There will be cuts. There is no doubt about it. I mean, I've been saying that when it comes to a local government employees and you know, the pay demands. You know, I've been saying this all along. If you're going to go for inflation busting pay demands, and I'm sorry, it's the reality of it, David. You and I know how this stuff works. Then look at your colleague in the eyes and ask, is it him that's gone or is it me?
That's right.
So, you know, the idea that there wasn't going to be cuts with inflation so high, with energy costs so high, with public sector workers demanding such a wage increases, which they deserve, let's not kid on, but when you've got a fixed budget, a declining fixed budget, as we know, it's being cut by 15% over the next 5 years, then, sorry, it's not 15, it's 13% over the next 5 years. That's a massive amount. And with the one economic lever that the Scottish Government has, income tax, and a declining economy, you know, it's no a power that's going to be very flexible to use.
No.
Always cracks me up when the cuckoos and the nest go in the economy. We know that the economy is reserved. It's one of the reserved matters. And it also makes me a wee bit annoyed when the SNP talk about the economy. But you can understand why they do, because they travel the world trying to bring in inward investment in Scotland. You know.
You know, the best example of real levelling up that I've seen is the pay deal that the NHS got. The bulk of the money for the NHS went to those workers, professionals that were at the bottom of the scale. And the light touch, if you like, to give them a wee bit was ones right at the very, very top, right? You know, my wife, she's at the very top, right? And okay, she's not management, she's a working public health nurse, but at the same time, she's still at the top of her scale. And it's like she was happy, very, very happy that the ones at the bottom got the bulk of the money. Yeah.
Right. That brings us to something, David, that we were going to mention. Now, there isn't a lot of marches and rallies, you know, until later in the year, and the work that the Indie 2 Cafe have been doing to support food banks and things like that are very important. So what David and I have done was decided to put on the Buy Us a Coffee function. And if you buy us a coffee on YouTube, then at the end of the month, or whenever the money's paid into the joint account that we have for the channel, then we will donate it to a food bank or to a charity in Scotland. And we'll do local areas like Clydebank and North Lanarkshire, and then we'll move on to the other ones. You know,
there are a good few where it's a baby food bank, McLarkin or you know.
Agnes Dare runs a baby food bank and all here in North Lanarkshire. You know,
it's like you have to understand. It's like these are young people with young children, and it's like we've got to protect the older people, yes, but the young people, the young children. Can you imagine living in a cold, damp flat with a baby or a toddler, and you have no money? My goodness me, that must be horrendous. It must be a nightmare.
David, did you put on the super chat function?
Yes.
Well, apparently super chat functions on as well, folks. You know, that way you can decide what you can afford to donate if you want to donate. But as I say, we've decided, because this is going to be a horrendous year for an awful lot of young families and for older people especially, it would be a good idea for us to put our own. And if you guys are nice enough to or can afford to buy us a coffee or do a super chat, then I guess David can put the YouTube screen up and I'll have a Facebook screen up, and we can both use the YouTube screen, because I don't know whether if you buy us a coffee it'll pop up on Restream or so. But if, as I say, any monies that we do raise will go to baby banks, food banks, or even, you know. All right.
We don't want it. We don't need it, but we'll direct it.
But as I say, don't dare buy us a coffee if your money is tight.
Yes. Most important.
David and I don't want your money.
Yeah.
Right, the super chat's not enabled, David. It's just to buy us a coffee.
Is it? I thought I'd enabled that. Oh, it takes a wee while for it to actually feed through. It's the same as normal. It's YouTube that do it, and it can take a couple of weeks for changes like that to actually come on board. I'm sure I did fill out the form for it.
Aye.
Send it off.
Well, we can always double check. You can always double check after the show, David. You know, but
Ali Watson says Scribbles does a lot for the baby food banks. Yes, he does, but most importantly, he does some beautiful works of art. And if you buy one of his works of art, he will donate. He'll donate to a baby food bank.
Apparently, David, they're not up. They buy me a coffee and that's not up yet. So you need to look into it.
All right, I'll look into that. No problem at all. Yeah.
Right, you get where we're going with this, folks.
Yeah.
You know, you say personally, we don't want your money, but we understand that things are going to get hard for an awful lot of people this year. And if we can collectively help these people, I think it is an extension of the things that we do at the MD2 Cafe. And that's why we're saying buy us a coffee, because that's basically what you do at the MD2 Cafe. You make a donation for a cup of coffee or a sandwich. You know. Aye, Mary, we all feel sick to our stomach when we think about the need for baby banks and food banks and things like that.
Yeah. It's just that. Totally.
And Ali's got 6 of Scribbles pictures. I've got 6 of his portraits and half a dozen of his cartoons. And the big one he did with the crowd in George Square. We'll put that one in, because Sarah and I are in it.
I've got the one of the wee Highland calf. It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful wee picture. But I bought that off him, and at the same time he sent me the one with David Mundell, Fluffy, saying that nobody in Scotland wants independence, and it's a cartoon picture of George Square and all the soul tiles going and all the rest of it.
Aye, cracking fella is Michael, and he does a wee work for charities. You know, Sarah and I and the MD2 Cafe try our best and all, and they've done well. They've raised a lot of money for charity this year, thanks to you guys buying teas and coffees and valleys and things like that. And Sarah mugging the bikers every time they show up.
If you haven't had a look at his website, go on and have a look at him. Wee Scribbles. You'll find it under Wee Scribbles. Scribbles with a K. All right. And you should be able to find it on Google easily enough. Let's see what else we've got.
So anyway, folks, that feature will be going on.
Yeah.
1 hour central heating is costing John £2.50. That is scandalous, John. It's costing me about 15 quid a day to run this house.
Yeah.
But we can bring that down to about 10. If you remember to run around the shot of it and a half. It cost me £2 to go for a shower.
Yeah.
No, because I've got the electric shower.
Yeah.
So it heats the water as it comes through it.
Yeah.
So
well, upstairs I've got the gas shower, and to be honest with you, I haven't used the downstairs shower for ages. It's electric, you know. So
I got the general strike's a good idea. Next month, 100,000 public servants are going to go to at one time. We'll get the nurses in England, the ambulance drivers in England, border control in England, all going to go to at one time. Whatever, Thomas. Thank you. That's awfully generous of you, as I say. But we'll look into why the functions are known. David's applied to have them put on.
Yeah.
So we thought they might have been on.
Yeah, Thomas, you have to understand. It's like he doesn't do it. he contacts me. Oh, will you make sure you do that?
I said, you're the tech guy. I'm the brains.
You mean I become the tech guy? I'm a sound engineer.
You became the tech guy when you threw your fucking toys at the pram and fell up with Bob. Hey, how is Bob anyway, Bob Wesley?
I have no clue.
That'd be that long, is it?
No.
He seemed to disappear after Sydney, after the 2014 referendum. A lot of people did. Hey, Pat, you volunteer at Coat Bridge Food Bank. Any donations are always welcome, lads. As I say, we'll do at the end of 2 Cafe does. What they have done is they've distributed the funds that they raise right across Scotland. And we'll do the same thing. Any funds that we raise will go across Scotland. As I say, we'd let you know about it.
Guys, I'm going to tell you, it's like next year I turn 60, or this year I turn 66, right? And I've got a choice of where to take my measly state pension, because I've got nothing at the background, nothing whatsoever, right?
Well, a family of three adults and 5 children were all taken to hospital recently. No electricity for 2 days. That's what I'm seeing on Facebook. Yeah, we know that universal credit is less than 100 a week.
It's cruel. It's cruel. Yeah.
I mean, how does everybody honestly living in a house like mine pay 80 quid a week for electricity when she's got a couple of kids and maybe only one family member working?
Way back before the start of the increase, if you like, of the electricity prices and gas prices and all the rest of it, right? My wife Leslie was discussing with me about a wee lass that worked in she lived in one of the high flats with a baby, and it was the solid fuel heaters that she had, right? And she was having to load her prepay meter with £50 a week. And Leslie just said, I don't know how she won't be able to do it for any length of time. And then obviously, this has happened. What's happened to that lassie now? I don't know. It's crazy.
Desiree's got a good point here, actually. You probably would be cheaper to take a tent and fly to a warmer Mediterranean venue than pipe to heat your home.
Yeah, absolutely. Watch out for the immigration, please.
And Wolf Pet says you're looking good considering your recent health problems, David.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very, very much. I've still got another good few weeks till my body starts to feel better. But I'm feeling a wee bit better now, so it's all good.
And apparently prepayment meters are 25% dearer than the customer has to pay for a dry meter, as they call it.
Yeah. I mean, what's your thoughts on that, about the electricity companies, the people who've got smart meters, switching them to prepay?
It's shambles.
Yeah, just you know.
And apparently, in England, they're actually signing these things off in droves. They're not even looking into the circumstances of the people they're signing them off on. Some of the people who've signed these things off on for electricity companies have actually been exempted that because of health conditions or because of having children under 5 in the house and things like that.
We were discussing it the other day there. What about somebody that's got insulin to keep cold in a fridge? Therefore, they've got to have a fridge, and a fridge that's working, right? You know, there are certain people that have got certain medical situations where they have to keep warm. It's absolutely imperative that they keep warm, otherwise they go through insane pain. This is inhuman, beyond inhuman. And these people that are actually forcing these orders, where these people get put on to prepay meters, it's ridiculous.
Some of the Air audience have got a really dark sense of humour, so they have. Rwanda for free, no jackets required. Well done, Lenny.
Yes.
You should actually
send that one to Suella Braverman, and she'll speak about it at the dispatch box.
Wow, yeah.
A benefit of sending people to Rwanda is they won't have to pay any electricity bills.
I mean, I'm £360 a month. He was finished there. The Madam Director, I mind you to keep your neb out. Hey, you know, I'm £360 a month plus for my electricity at the moment. But we do keep the heating cranked up.
Yeah.
You know, we keep the water warm, or that sort of thing. And Pierre Dugan's saying that his parents are in their 80s and having to ask family to subsidise £600 a month to keep warm.
Yeah. I mean, I'll come clean with this one. I've got the heating set here, so that if it drops down to 16 degrees in the house, which is actually a very, very cold temperature, right?
Aye.
The heating comes on automatically and boosts it up to about 19 degrees during the night. And the reason for that is very, very simple. Burst pipes. That's when burst pipes happen.
Aye. Yeah. As I say, we keep it. Sarah's got her heating cranked up all year round. She's cold blooded, that.
Well, she's singing with the fruit on the hat, and we're having a heat wave.
The temperature in the living area is at 22 degrees. The heating's set at 25 degrees. And she's sitting with a house coat on.
No, well, we have another wee problem, and perhaps some of my pals can possibly help me through this one. When my wife Leslie has a shower in the bathroom, even although the heating might be going, she opens the bathroom window and leaves the bathroom door open, and it's upstairs. Cold air drops, and what happens is that very, very quickly the lower deck of the house becomes utterly freezing. So, any ideas?
Bloody windy shut.
What did you say?
Madam Director said keep the bloody windy shut.
Exactly, aye. I'll glue it shut, I think.
So,
yeah, Julie, you're absolutely right. There are people that do suffer from the cold, and it actually gives them a real bad situation health-wise.
And apparently Stephen Kelly's dad, because he's low blood pressure, has cold hands all the time.
Yeah, me too. I've got it, yeah.
Neil's mentioned me a comment, but I don't see it.
But I've got the electric gloves. I've got my electric gloves when it gets really bad.
Gordon, you're absolutely right. Dragons, they feel the cold. Better buy Sarah a better house coat, Davy. It's a brand new one. I just got her for Christmas. And it was quality, I can assure you, it wasn't cheap.
It's an old joke, David, but how does Sarah make the toast first thing in the morning?
Orders me to get the toaster out.
Oh, man. So a bit of bread in the fork and go,
no, that's too much effort. Davies goes to the room. It depends. Desiree Brincat, it depends on what tariff you're on and things like that. Now, Sarah and I are on tariff 10, so apparently we don't come under the cap because we're already on what's supposed to be the cheapest rate. So we're not supposed to be paying enough for the cap to kick in for us. But what cap? I'm £360 a month. That's £4,200 a year. It's supposed to be capped at 2,500. Where's the bloody cap?
Yeah.
And Desiree's in Malta right now. The electricity charges are normal.
Yeah.
Paul sent me a photograph on Facebook. That'll be one of the.
In actual fact, what Desiree is saying is that the electricity charges haven't changed for her.
Right.
Yeah. And thanks, guys. I have thought about the extractor fan, but to be honest, we got a new bathroom fitted, and my wife is not minded to let me
use it.
Get loose and drill a big hole in the wall. You know.
Paul sent me has the investigation into Manchester A&E this morning at 10 o'clock. So I'm now starting to get information coming in from England as well, David, on the NHS. Now, folks, we're going to have to wind this one up. We'll sort out the coffee thing and we'll sort out the super chat thing and see if we can work out how it works. And as I say, because we want to try and help people through this year. Ali, we know that the increases were capped in France and in Germany and Italy. And in fact, the Spanish threatened to nationalise and the Italians threatened to nationalise their energy companies if they stick to the caps. You know, what's happening here in the UK is the energy companies are being allowed to run a savvy. Where we are right now, Sunak or Jeremy Hunt could have ordered them to chuck it.
Yeah. Yes.
I've got images going for Glasgow as well and asking who's kidding who. So I'll go on to that. But as I say, David, I'm starting work at 5 and it's 2 minutes.
Right. Okay. Just one final thing for myself. Look, guys, if you have got a few shekels to put together to buy a few extra bits at the supermarket, goodness sake, don't forget the food banks. The food banks are struggling. They really, really are. And I think we all need to recognise that. And there are people out there that literally rely on
it. Apparently, Nathan's saying question times in Glasgow in 2 weeks' time that you and I should get ourselves along. There's a wee problem with that. The BBC doesn't talk to us. The minute our applications went in, it would be a case of
They just don't like it up them. That's it. Right, guys.
Right, hold on, David. Just a couple of things, guys. Hit the like button, will you, if you're on YouTube? It helps, right? And please share the video across your social media platforms. If you're on Facebook, give me a couple of minutes when I take it off air to change the video to a public. As I say, and we'll sort out the problems, and we'll be back. Is it Sunday we're back?
Aye. Yes.
We'll be back on Sunday to go a wee bit deeper into some of the murky goings on in Westminster and here in Scotland. Or we might just be here to answer your comments. Now, Siobhan and Judith Reid will be coming on at some point soon, David. We'll probably have to do a special to talk about the chain of freedom.
Yes.
Chain.
Has she come up to any decision of when she would like to run it? Is there any?
I'm sworn to confidentiality at this point in time.
Okay, fair enough. It's just that I want to make sure that we get in contact with a lassie from CNN, because I know for a fact that she would support us in this and she would get us airtime on CNN.
Right.
Which would make a lot of other international broadcasters pick it up.
Apparently we need a month of Sunday to get through the muck going on down that road. That's all right, but they tend to day one for months and months and months of Sundays. Okay, now listen, folks. End of the week, Friday, weekend means a lot of people are out and about interacting with each other. The winter flu virus is extremely virulent at the moment, and COVID's no abating either. So if you're out in enclosed public spaces and you are a wee bit vulnerable, or if you're feeling a bit under the weather, please mask up.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. I would actually say people err on the side of caution and take a mask where you put it in your pocket, and see if you go into a big shop or whatever and you see loads of people in it, wear the mask.
It'll be 3 o'clock on Sunday, 3 and 23. We normally do 3 o'clock on Sunday, don't we?
Aye. Yeah.
We were a wee bit early last week because David was feeling fit and wanted to go and get a meal for a change. But if he's feeling fit again this Sunday and wants to alter things, he'll give us enough notice to tell us that we're going early this time. Right, so the main topics that we covered this week was Zahawi, NHS, Section 35 order, direct funding, ended the devolution settlement basically, polling, and the democratic deficit. So, no doubt we'll go over some of them again.
And don't forget to write down that Wayne said that nobody wants independence anywhere in Scotland.
Oh, I need to write that down. Wayne says it will. We've all decided to get back on our boats. Anyway, Wayne's Brexit and he's back in his London bus. You know, stuck in time but can't go backwards. What's left for us to say is...
Bye, Davey.
Bye, Davey.